So joining me today is Sharina Harris, author of Imperfectly Happy and Judge's Girls, which comes out next week. So hi, thank you so much for doing this.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. So you've basically birthed two books so close to each other. That's kind of like having twins. First of all, congratulations. And how are you feeling?
I call them my COVID babies because, man, I could not have guessed this. This was not a part of the 2020 bingo card to release during a pandemic. But, initially I was very feeling down about it because this is what I call it. Oh, this is my big girl book. I get to go out and go to different bookstores and tour and do all these speaking gigs. And it didn't happen, of course. And obviously, like bigger issues, right? This is first world problems for sure. But it definitely did impact me. But what turned my attitude around was the writing community. They were very much so embracing that, I had a debut come out, the first book, Imperfectly Happy, back in April, and then now in October. So they were so supportive. They boosted me, tweeted. I've had some great authors, all stages of their career, just really just lift me up. And that has been like the best feeling. It's been the best feeling, it really has.
That's incredible. And I know it's a tough time because you want to be out and celebrating with people. Obviously, like that's the fun part of, releasing
Right.
something. But
Right.
for the readers, I've been reading more than ever, so this is kind of like a good time to come out with a book because people are looking for an escape. So with that, first, let's talk about, give me a quick summary of both books. But first, let's talk about Imperfectly Happy, which I thought was I'm Perfectly Happy. And you said that that's kind of like what you meant, right? So tell me about that
Yeah,
too.
so just to have it like you see like the parentheses here.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I came up with the title, but I did. I was brainstorming because I had a completely different title that was close to another, apparently another author who is my friend. I didn't realize that was her title. So they were like, nope, try again. And I thought, okay, well, this book is about the pursuit of happiness. And just depending on your perspective, if you're a glass half empty, you're thinking imperfectly, and half full, I'm perfectly. So throughout the book, I think they journey from imperfectly to I'm perfectly. So that's how the title ties it. It's like the journey, and then it's also for the reader too. Like, what do you gravitate more towards?
Right, depending on the day, we're all
Mhm.
a little bit of
The
both.
day, right? It is
Yeah.
hour by hour,
Especially
actually.
these days,
Yes,
exactly. So give me a
yes.
brief synopsis of that book.
Yes, so it's about four friends. They met in college, and they're now, I say, firmly rooted in their 30s. And basically, back in college, they formed a accountability group, a mastermind group, to go after their dreams. So one, Kara, I'll say Kara, she's a sommelier. She wanted to pass the Court of Masters test, which is like has a pass rate of less than 10%. To my knowledge, currently there are no African American women who have passed the test, done the test, passed the test. So I thought that would be interesting to have that because it's really an interesting and tough industry to be a part of. And I have another character, Sienna. She is a attorney, but she wanted to run for public office. And because her fiance, who's also an attorney, he wanted to run, so she put her dreams aside. Raina, she is a radio personality. If you're familiar with Delilah, she's that, but that's not her personality at all. So it's like Delilah on the outside, but really sarcastic and a little bit dark on the inside. And she really wants to be a writer. And then finally, Nikki, she is a musician, former musician, and she put her dreams aside because she ended up getting married and pregnant earlier in life. And so they realize now in their 30s that they're no closer than their dreams. They're not the women they used to be. So they decide to dump all of the other baggage that they've been carrying for other people and really focus on themselves. So it's about self-love, self-care, and just journeying through that. And of course, there's some romantic elements in there too, because life is
Why
messy.
not?
It's part of that
Yes.
too.
Now, I appreciate this book. First of all, I love a book about women in their 30s because it's like my age group, so it's that. But I love this whole idea of going after your dreams, and I think it's interesting because you kind of did the same thing. So tell me about your journey and your Oprah moment.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, I've always known I wanted to be a writer. I've always gravitated towards it. And when I was younger, this sounds really terrible. I just remember my English teacher gave me a book of careers you can do as a writer, as an English major, and they had the salaries there. And it was pretty dismal. And I was like, oh, well, I can't be poor. So I
Right.
decided to, major shift gears, major in journalism, public relations, and I went that path of a marketer, and I still am a marketer to this day. But I just realized that I would say, it was maybe around 2012, that I really enjoy writing, and I've been gravitating towards that all of my life. And then I saw the Oprah Winfrey show. Can't remember what the name of her segment is, but she had on this is like Black actresses in Hollywood. And so it was like Afri Woodard, Gabrielle Union, Felicia Rashad, Viola Davis. And it was just talking about how difficult it was to have roles that were written for them and how it's made them pitted pitted them against each other. And one of the things that Oprah asked, okay, well, what can we do to change this? And then Afri Woodard says, we need more writers. We need more writers writing our stories. And it was just like, I felt like she was looking in the
I have
camera,
like
calling me out.
goosebumps. Yeah.
Goosebumps. It was a goosebumps moment. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not a screenwriter, sure, but books get adapted all the
Yeah.
time. But it was just a
Yeah.
call to action, call to arms for me to just go out there and write stories that that can connect for women of color, for Black women too. Is that love letter to saying, hey, I know we typically are nurturers, that we put ourselves to the side. And I was kind of going through that, some of those things that happened in the book were really just my fears that I had a chance to exercise through this book.
I love that. Well, thank you for doing that. And it's
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
It's funny. So, Oprah, I feel like we all have, not everybody, but I have definitely like my Oprah moments. And I started in small markets in television. And my mom always, anytime I was feeling down or like, oh, I'm not where I want to be yet, she's like, Oprah started as a weather girl. You can do it. Like that was always her go-to.
Yes,
And it's like one of those things that I
right.
replay in my mind. Um,
Yes.
okay. So tell me a little bit about the new book, but don't give anything away.
Okay, so keeping it high level. So Judge's Girls, also women's fiction with romantic elements. It's set in the South, South Georgia, and basically the patriarch of the family dies. He's a county judge, and he's on his second marriage, married to a white woman, his secretary, who's 15 years younger. She has a daughter who's in her teens, and he has an adult daughter who's an attorney, and she's in her late 20s. So the stepmom and the daughter don't get along, and they certainly don't get along when he puts in his will that he has this beautiful lake house home that Maya, who is the adult daughter, grew up in with her first mom who passed away. And he said, hey, I'm going to will this house to you, but my wife can stay there as long as she wants. And again, they don't get along. The stepdaughter and the stepsisters, they get along very well. They're very close. So it's just about reforming family bonds that aren't, maybe typical on the surface, and going through grief of death, and also healing from scars of the past, from childhood trauma. It sounds very dark and deep, but I always put levity and comedy, and you would think so. I would say more of like a dramedy.
Okay.
And it definitely has some romance, because my roots are in romance too. So
I'm
that's
so
Judge's
excited.
Girls.
I can't wait to read it.
Yes.
Thank you for everything you're putting out. And if one of these were to get adapted to the screen, which one would you want to be adapted first?
I think I'm gonna go with Imperfectly Happy first. I can see both, but I mean, of
Who
course,
would
I
you
could see both.
cast? Who would you cast as the
Oh,
girls? Because I
so
feel like I have.
I would do Megan Good, Regina Hall, Lupita Nyong'o, and Kravitz, Zoe Kravitz. So
Okay, well,
that's
it's
what
out
I
into the world, so we put it out there. It's gonna happen. I will look for it. Please DM me when it does.
have.
And if people want to follow you, what is your Instagram handle?
It's Sharina Writes.
Awesome.
Sharina Writes.
Thank you
Yes.
so much, Sharina. It was so nice to meet you.
Thank you. So nice to meet you too, Ashley.